So, if you have been listening to my show for the past year, you would have heard me speak of a story where I was wandering in Hyde Park on a beautiful day, listening to some binaural beats, and I come across this giant tree. Now, if you haven't heard this story before, this is the only way that I can really describe as being magic. And under this tree sat a man whom I ended up talking to for 3 hours. This man ended up being a huge reflection for me and a massive shift in perspective of my life at that point in time. We didn't know each other and ended up talking about how life is magical and how we had the same beliefs around mindset and ended up having very similar journeys whereby we were both from Australia, both had moved to London. However, this man was actually more so a older version of myself, doing all the things that I have actually set out to do. So we sat there and had this moment of just like, wow, I'm literally talking to my older self right now, and vice versa to his younger self. So I have mentioned this story a few times before, and today I'm really honored to have this man here on my podcast. Now, his name is Paul, and his mission is to educate people on how we affect the world through our thoughts, our words, our actions, and how he teaches how to develop a strategy that so you can rediscover your roots in coherence with your true nature. So basically, what he does is helps people with massive change in your life and ignites you through this process, becoming familiar with how to free yourself, reveal what is meaningful, and bring to light your gifts so you can share them with the world. So, in that 3 hour conversation that I had with Paul on that day, it really just shifted me into this awakening process. And I truly believe on our journey, we have moments of forgetfulness, of amnesia, where we maybe lose our way a little bit. And definitely on this day, I was doubting myself and my journey and why I was, in fact, in London. So I'm very grateful to have him here today to talk about his journey and where he's at and how he got to where he is, and share that with you all. So, Paul, I would like to just officially welcome you to the Generation Elevation podcast. It is so lovely to have you here today.
Thank you, Elise. Thank you so much. And thank you for your kind words. I'm blushing.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So, Paul, that was definitely my experience of that day. I would love for you to share what your experience was on that day. And then we'll go into a bit of your story so my listeners can get to know who you are specifically.
Okay. So I live in Los Angeles, and but I had a really meaningful period of time in my life in London. I moved there in '99, and um, during my time over 10 years there in London, I had this one place that I'd always go to and reflect upon. There's this bench under this. It was a willow tree. Elise just told me apparently it's not there anymore, which is sad. But
No, it's
Hyde
not
Park
there.
was my Hyde Park was like my sanctuary. And when I grew up in Australia, it was the beach, but the park took over that place. You know, great place to go and think and to reflect, to process, and also it's incredible people watching as well. I mean, fantastic people watching. So I was sitting there and relaxing, and I had come into London to do. I was sort of processing everything that had gone on in the course of that week with my work. And there was a lot of moving parts, a lot of things that were on my mind. And I was sitting there, and I just felt sort of a sense of peace, and I was relaxed. And then I saw this young lady walk along, and I saw like heaviness, a lot of heaviness, more so a lot of overthinking. And I just smiled and said hello, and there was a space next to me on the bench, and then we chatted for a little bit, and then you sat down, and then I realized, like you were saying, I felt like I was talking to the younger version of myself, because I had come to London in '99. I was just turned 25. Um, I was meant to go on a working holiday for 2 years, and it turned into 10 years. I'm still on a working holiday 25 years later here in America. Um, the experience was really comforting, because during that time I felt very alone and felt uncertain, but also I felt the sense of this sort of possibility. If I was able to be sort of have more faith and trust in myself, then I would be able to settle into what was at my feet, laying at my feet. I saw London as just, I could trip over a gold bar when I was in London. The amount of luck I had, and the good fortune, and the community, and the friends I made, and the sense of being of service to those people that I helped during my time in London, and how that elevated me, giving, and the gratefulness and the gratitude around that sense of giving, and then that gave back to me. And so as we were talking, I was really understanding that this was an opportunity for me to go back in a little time machine, if you feel as I do about time, it's non-linear. So going back to an aspect of myself and having a conversation with myself. So it was very natural, and it was very easy. And it was serendipitous at the time that you came along. And it was literally like talking with the younger version of myself, sort of talking about patience, about faith, about trust, about understanding about how we affect our life, and bringing positivity into moments that are where there's doubt and there's faith, and is required, and you need to trust yourself, double down on trusting yourself. But the biggest thing was just encouraging you to relax during that time, because when you're very when you've got a lot of energy, and you've got a lot of energy to give to the world, sometimes if that is sitting in a place that is less than positive, or um, we can toil away, and then we can spiral, and we can sort of bounce around like a ping pong inside of our mind at these thoughts, and we start having a conversation with ourselves that's not the most positive. So it's good to sort of sometimes to break that, and I feel the best place to do that is in nature, and that's just so happened where we met in Hyde Park, in nature. Well, it's Kensington Gardens, really, isn't it? But there you have it.
Yeah, yeah. And I completely agree. That's definitely where I was at. I was having an off day. And that totally broke the pattern for me. And the saying that comes to mind is, if you do the same thing that you've always done, you will get what you've always gotten. So if you think the same thoughts, you will also attract the same things over and over again. And that day specifically, I walk Hyde Park pretty much every day. Now, on this day, I chose to walk a different path, and I discovered a path that I had not yet walked before. So I was just very curious and to see where it would lead me, and was like, wow, I can't believe I haven't walked down here before. I've literally thought I'd conquered this whole Kensington Gardens. I thought I'd conquered it all, but I had not. And it was such a perfect metaphor, because I chose to walk a different path that day. I had a different experience, and therefore different thoughts, and attracted different. And I'm so glad that I did, because it broke me out of that pattern, out of that like you said, ping pong match, to think differently. And I have never forgotten it. It impacted me that much. So thank you.
Amazing. No, the thing about being an entrepreneur is, there's a lot of uncertainty. You could describe the unknown or uncertainty as being something that can be the source of great fear or can be the source of great excitement. It can be the source of pessimism, and it can be the source of optimism, depending on how your influences in your life, your culture, your family, your friends, the circumstances and the events of your life all culminated in one moment that you are in this moment. It depends how you're orientated towards it. And if you're orientated towards that moment as being something to be fearful from, or fearful of, beg your pardon, it's like, are you running away from something that you don't want, or are you moving towards what is um, your purpose, your gift, your passion, the path of your heart? So in those moments, reorientating yourself, what am I going towards and what am I going away from, is a really simple tool that is helpful. And I wish I had that real clear and simple advice when I was younger, because there's a lot of times that I was running away from these ideas that were imprinted sort of deep within the subconscious, that were somewhat sabotaging or negative or heavy, and they're not myself, and they were never myself. And they're voices from people that were sitting on the ledge of judgment or fear or limitation, and that's not my true nature. So it's really good to disentangle yourself from those moments and shake them clean and clear. And one of the great ways to do that is being in nature, or, as above, so below. So when you change your external environment, it promotes an opportunity for your internal environment to change, and vice versa. When you're shifted internally, then the universe responds back to you in that fashion. So sitting there that moment and witnessing you and seeing, it was very obvious that you're a go-getter and very ambitious and powerful, but also incredibly talented. But one of the things that struck me is you're just a good person, at least pure, and your intention is clear to help people. So as I sat there and I saw that, I saw reflections of my younger self, and more than anything, it was just pointing in a direction to say, try looking in that direction, because the best thing you can do for anyone is, particularly when they've come 85% of the way, is just give them a little boost for the last little bit. It's very difficult when someone is very heavy and very stuck, and they're really self-sabotaging and they're wanting to drown themselves. It's very difficult to shake someone out of that, and you have to move them from places of guilt and shame and remorse and apathy and regret and all these heavy places into accepting and allowing. And for you, it was very easy because it was just a little bit of like forgetfulness. We all suffer from forgetfulness or confusion about circumstances, particularly when maybe we have a little string of events that test us. And we all have a finite amount of resources, and particularly when you're away from Australia, away from home, and when you've got a new community and you don't have your same support network and things are different, and you're making your way and you're sifting through relationships and interactions to find ones that are in alignment with who you really are. It takes a will, a strength to stay on your path, and it is foolish to believe that you're not going to have moments of doubt. So remembering your true nature, remembering who you are, awakening from moments of forgetfulness, which we all suffer from, doubling down on trusting yourself and relaxing, having faith and trust in yourself to use your instincts, your gut, your intuition, your heart, checking in with that if it's in alignment with your internal compass, with your North Star, with that center point inside of you. Are you balanced, and does it feel good? So using all those resources that we're maybe losing touch with, intuition, gut feeling, instincts, and just watching your life, and your life will show you and teach you. If there's a door that's really difficult to open, try and open an easier door. You don't have to kick it down. If something doesn't work, maybe it's not the right time, or maybe it's not meant to be, but don't be obsessed or attached to the outcome. A lot of people focus on decisions and choices, and I really was decision and choice focused when I was younger, but I feel as though it was the experience that lied on the other side of those decisions and choices that really had the meat on the bones for me, had the teaching, had the juicy stuff, the stuff that was really gave me opportunities to be tested and to be challenged, and for me to interact with that experience and learn and grow, or come to the same outcome, like you said, and then have a chance to redo it again. So it's like that turn of the wheels, like whatever is provided in front of us, it's not so much the choice and decision, it's the experience that you could describe as our soul or our inner higher self, the aspects of ourself that is our true nature that is seeking to experience and to learn from. And through that understanding, that makes things a little bit easier. So going back to the original idea, are we going towards something or going away from something? Are we using our instincts, our resources, our internal resources? Are we focused on what other people are doing, what other people are saying, or the directions that other people are trending in? Or are we centered in our true nature and ourself? Do we understand ourselves? Do we know ourselves? So all these things become a lot more familiar over periods of time of just really attempting to do hard things. And I see you attempting to do something very difficult and hard, is establish yourself in a foreign country, to build a business, to engage in people that has a result which is timeless, priceless, expansive. The idea of freedom sometimes is difficult to grasp, but what you're encouraging people to engage with is very good. But it's an experience, and it's hard to sell something that's not tangible. It's hard to sell an experience. So everything that you're doing is very hard, but at the same time, it's incredibly meaningful and worthy. And even if you just help one person in your lifetime, that is a meaningful life. And you're attempting to help as many people that are available for help. And that's a beautiful thing. And I endorse that. And when I had an opportunity to put a little bit of my energy behind that and be supportive and encouraging, it feels really good. So if I can help you help people, then I'm fitting in alignment with my dream, my vision, the purpose that I'm here to express. So there you have it.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. I got emotional a bit then. Thank you. So, Paul,
Yes.
for my listeners that have no idea who you are, they just know you as some guy I met under a tree in Hyde Park, right?
Yes.
So, you traveled to London from Australia back in 99, like you said, and you originally were a personal trainer, yes, and then you moved into the like mindset, shamanism space. So I'd love to hear what, like, I guess your journey has been in transitioning to that, the achievements that you've had, the challenges, the things that you've learned. I'd really love for you to share that experience for you.
Okay, so in 99, I had left Australia. I went on a working holiday to the UK, to London. Um, my first original career, I was a manufacturing chemist. So I worked for Big Pharma,
Wow.
and I always had the intention, or I wanted to help people, but and my family's background was in medicine, so that's something that was my first sort of instinct. And when I was in that career, in that job, I just felt stagnant and stale, and I really wanted to help people on more into using some more one-on-one interpersonally and have more of an influence of them with them, and to give them some form of sort of inspiration for them to go and help themselves. So when I was going to the UK, I wasn't able to do that career as a manufacturing chemist on that visa at that time. It was a 2-year working visa. So I studied for a couple of years before I left Australia and got human movement kinesiology, anatomy, physiology sort of degree. And then when I came to London, I started doing personal training, and I was doing it part time in Australia before I left. But then I really just came alive, and everything seemed to click. And I was in Notting Hill, or in Bayswater, and at that time that was a really sort of a hot spot, and there was a lot of incredible people. It was a real melting pot, that area. So in the gym that I was working at, there was always someone very interesting, someone that I'd never been exposed to. I mean, Perth is the most isolated major city in the world, and at that time there was only 1.4, I think, million people living there, and I had very limited experience with international sort of people. So it was just
Mm.
it was such a melting pot for me being exposed to so many different cultures, so many different aspects of creativity, actors, musicians, artists, people that were international that had exposure to so many different cultures, and that melting pot really influenced me to start to learn more um, about the world and about culture and about people and how people do things differently and how they approach things. And there's sort of like a culmination at the same time. I was on this path of helping people with their well-being and through exercise and nutrition and motivation. And this culmination came together. I I mean, I got a C in English and I typed with these two fingers, and I got a phone call one day to say, "Will you write a page for the Sunday Times
Wow.
on health and fitness?" And they had four, that was before really social media. They had 4.6 million readers, and I just said yes. I said yes to everything. So I was writing these articles with my two fingers, and I was sending them to my mother in Australia to edit, and then I was sending them back to the Sunday Times. And I was working on films with actors. Um, I made a game with Sony PlayStation and Nike about health and fitness and exercise movement. Um, I was on Sky News. My career was really just took off out of nowhere, totally unexpected. But I was just very open and very positive, and I just said yes to everything. And as I was writing those articles in the Sunday Times, I was writing 1,000 words every week. I really was yearning to start to write about more esoteric sort of spiritual or cultural differences in the way people approach well-being and health. I started writing about Ayurvedic medicine. I started writing about Chinese medicine. Started writing about different indigenous cultures and the way they approach well-being in the world, their psychology, their ideas. And I was traveling. I think I was in South America it was about 2001, 2000, and I came across a shaman, and she was studying with a PhD out of Berkeley, and then he had a curriculum, a 4-year curriculum. So I did that curriculum because I was so fascinated about how different cultures approached well-being and psychology and their spirituality as well. And it was all tied up in nature. Shamanic practice is very nature oriented, which I love nature baths or being in nature, and I find so much wisdom and healing and understanding about the world and about this life through nature.
Yeah.
So Dr. Alberto Bialdo, I did his curriculum. It was incredible. And at the same time, I started to really go deep into Qigong, and I was studying with a Qigong master in Koh Samui in Thailand. So I was going to Thailand doing retreats with him a lot. I was coming to America to do the workshops with the shamanism, and this the whole time I was sort of also exploring health and fitness, and the idea of well-being was really coming a lot more sort of prominent. So I started a company called the Wellbeing Manager, and that really that grew and took off. I was writing lots of magazine articles, and I was making lots of appearances, and it was just really flying. It was an incredible experience, and the reason why I feel things were going well is because I was open and I was positive. I had no expectations. I felt no obligation to any dogma or any idea, and I was just very inquisitive and curious. And in general, I was very happy. It was a very happy time in my life. But then at the same time, there was this success that was unfolding before my eyes, and then the ideas of losing this success, or the ideas of which is the next step, and those ideas were really confusing and convoluted. Reason is it started taking me away from what I was originally there to do, which was to be of service and to help people. So it was a very interesting time, and there was a lot of dynamics at play with media, and then with the business, and with traveling, working on set, or going on music tours, things like this. So it was a very strange and unusual time in my life, because it was all very foreign to me and all very new. And I was like a kid in a candy store, and every experience I had my mouth open. But at the same time, I felt very lonely as well because it was, I was on this path and I was moving forward, but I didn't at that time, I didn't really have a mentor. So I had completed the 4 year curriculum and we finished in the Amazon and we went to the Amazon for 10 days and I did ayahuasca ceremony before it was cool, before it was known,
Wow.
with a traditional ayahuasquero on the banks of the River Madre, which is a tributary that runs off the Amazon River in an eco lodge. And that was very powerful and meaningful to me. And even to this day, that 10-day experience is still unfolding. And I've never done ayahuasca since 2000, I think 4 it was. Um, and then I did 3 weeks in the Andes and I went with the Quechua medicine men and women, and they came down from the high altitudes in the Andes in the 80s when they were given the message that they need to share this teaching with the West, and the Western shamans were going to be the next sort of tradition that was going to help humanity. They stayed intact. They didn't get diluted or polluted. They went to the very high up into the altitudes when the conquistadors conquered um, uh, the South Americas, like Peru, these places. So during the course of that experience, then I was just really open to different sort of spiritual experiences and learning about indigenous cultures and these kind of things. So it's very powerful.
Yeah. Wow. I love this so much because I'm pretty sure on my show I haven't had really anyone speak on shamanism before. So for my listeners who may have never seen a shaman or met a shaman or probably have a stereotypical idea of what a shaman is, like how would you describe your work as a shaman, and who would need to go and seek a shaman? Like, what would they be experiencing to go, okay, I need to go and see Paul, for example?
So I studied also Gnostic shamanism, which is shamanism in more knowing oneself. And I've done that for the last 4 years. And that's really where my focus is now. But a traditional shaman, you could say, is someone that is able to engage with unseen forces to help someone in their life, help someone understand themselves, help someone heal and overcome restrictions and limitations and beliefs, um, help someone who may be encountering sort of chaos and entanglement or forces in their life that are negative towards them, someone that is struggling with certain relationships or struggling with the circumstances in their life. And shamanism could be described as a nature practice. I don't feel as though the word religion really does it justice. It's more of a practice and engaging in nature and ceremony and ritual to help someone in the unseen world, which affects them in their everyday life in this world.
Wow. Yeah. Beautifully put, I think. So, the question that I feel really called to ask, I don't know if it would resonate with some of the listeners tuning in. What would be the difference then between like a light worker or an angelic being and a shaman? What's the difference? Or is there?
So it's very subjective. So how I feel as though someone can follow a tradition and a practice, and they follow a lineage through a teacher, or they can uh, use nature as a teacher. They can use plant medicine as a teacher. So there's a number of ways to find their path to shamanism. And then a light worker may be someone that is following their own path and has intuitively received intuition and messages to engage in helping someone in a certain way. Um, I feel as though light worker may sort of cover a lot of territory, and shamanism may be a little bit more sort of specific based on either a lineage, studying with a teacher, which has been handed down for many generations of teachers, or it could be like we're talking about, if it was a plant medicine sort of teacher, they may just learn from the plant medicine, or they in Peru, say for instance, you can become a shaman by being struck by lightning.
Wow.
You know, and that can be an initiation. So we can all be initiated into some form of modality in many different ways. But, I suggest following, working with someone that has got a practice that has been developed over a period of time. I'm 25 years into studying shamanism, and I'm still a student of shamanism. You could describe me as someone that's still an apprentice shaman. I studied Ho'oponopono with a kahuna in Hawaii for 7 years. I studied
Wow.
with two different Qigong masters for one for 10 years and the other one for 7 years now. So I still am studying and learning all the time. And there's many different ways that someone can find their path to becoming, say, maybe put them under the umbrella of a healer. There's many different ways. But somebody that walks around and tells you that there's something maybe that's worthwhile paying attention to, whether that's like a red flag, and you can just experience them for yourselves. But the number one thing is if it feels good for someone, if it feels good, if you resonate with someone, then that person, on my best day with my best effort, my goal is never to tell anyone what to do or never to be entangled with someone. It is to inject ideas or inspiration for somebody to save themselves or heal themselves. And that's
Yeah.
I feel as though that is a really great mentality to bring to any circumstance. So you stay in your own lane, you don't get entangled with someone. And then at the same time, if I'm, giving a client or somebody I'm helping all the answers, or I'm telling them what to do, then what I'm doing subliminally is I'm sharing with them that I don't feel as though that they're able to do it themselves. It's like a helicopter parent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if someone's coming to you and they're asking you questions, that's different. But if I'm telling you what to do, then I'm robbing you from the experience of you learning and growing.
Yeah. And I also believe like what's coming to mind is, for example, social media, uh, people that are influencing online, telling people this is what you need to do to be successful, or this is what you need to do, right? And it's like I find that a lot of people are following these ideas and exact methods that these influencers are sharing about, and maybe not getting the same results, and then beating themselves up for not getting the results of someone else's path. And like you said earlier, it's like, how can you come to your own intuition and your own ideas and your own calling being inspired by the people around you, rather than like being like a child or like a slave to what everyone's trying to tell you to do. It's like, why don't you listen to your own inner guidance, come back to who you are, come back to your light, and then share that gift with the world.
I love it. Exactly the way I feel about it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's definitely how I coach people too. It's like, if it's not a problem, it's not a problem, and if it is, then like let's figure out like where it's coming from and how we can move that vibration, transmute it to something higher.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's only a problem if we make it a problem. We're the one making it good or bad. We're the one that's deciding whether we're safe or we're unsafe. We're the one that ultimately has got a say in the matter. If you understand yourself and know yourself and give your inner self a voice, then we have a choice in the matter how we want to respond or react, how we want to engage with the circumstance. If we want to be thrown off our center, or we want to remain in our center of balance. But oblivious to these forces, then it's very hard for you to have a say in the matter, have a choice if you are unaware of them. But if you know yourself and start to understand yourself, then you've got a say in the matter, and you can give those parts of yourself a voice, and you have a choice.
Hmm. It's like when clients come to me and they're like, "Oh, I just figured out like I have this pattern going on." I'm like, the last response that you would expect from someone is to be like excited, but for me, I'm like, instead of "oh no, like this sucks," like, yes, this is exciting, because the fact that you're aware of this pattern means you're already way ahead. You can't fix something that you're not even aware of, you know. So let's go into the process of awakening, right? Because everyone on this podcast, everyone listening, will be experiencing some level of awakening right now, whether they are going through it, have gone through it, or repeating again, waking up from levels of forgetfulness and amnesia. When experiencing an awakening, I guess what I would love to hear is your thoughts on what that means to you, and then maybe some tips for people that are experiencing that, where maybe there is a slight hesitation to lean into the work, lean into the shadows. I remember when I first met you, you said some people find it inconvenient to look up.
Inconvenience to when there's ideas that are in direct uh, competition with ideas that are liberating. And then when you come
Mm.
to that sort of awareness, like, oh, I'm kind of blocking myself or sabotaging myself or I'm restricting myself. And then you can pull on that like a cord and go, okay, so what's behind that? At some point in my journey, I had this experience and I developed a story which turned into a mechanism. And that mechanism was really helpful at that time in my life to protect me and to help me feel safe and help me get from A to B. And now we're looking at B to C, and that no longer serves you. So if I walk us back to the beginning of this idea of awakening, or I feel awakening is this, there's more, you described as more light, there's more awareness. So what was in the shadows come into the light because we keep secrets from ourselves. We keep secrets from ourselves. Let's say the best kept secret is that you're infinitely powerful. You have infinite possibilities. Your potential is limitless. Um, so we keep those things secret from ourselves, and also sometimes we keep other things secret from ourselves that we're engaging in a certain pattern or behavior or a belief system that is blocking us, and we're the ones that also can free ourselves. So when we're in direct competition with the reality of our life, that's where I'd like to start with, is we're not allowing our life be. So we're entangled with an expectation of an outcome. So as soon as you're okay with sort of what outcome there is, because there could never have been any other outcome. It's the only outcome that could be, because that's the one that has landed in front of you. We discover that allowing your life to be, then immediately that gives you more freedom, more relief, because okay, I'm not having to arm wrestle my life into a certain perfect pattern or a certain perfect outcome, because that's impossible to control, because the only thing I can control is my thoughts, words, and actions. So allowing is number one. Number two is then accepting what happened. And then number three, looking into it and going, oh, okay, so what does this mean? Meaning, what am I making this mean? I'm the one that's making this mean something good or something bad. And then recognizing, okay, so if I step away from that and I'm okay with what happened and I'm not fighting my life, then it gives you a lot more sort of freedom and allows you to be more relaxed. And it's
Mm.
also, it's helpful for you to be more, have more ease and grace in your life. And then that brings in the superpower, which is happiness. So gratitude is a great way to sort of make that leap across that bridge into happiness. And happiness is a superpower. So I'm grateful for this life. I'm grateful for this experience, even though it's very difficult. You can soothe yourself, and you can walk yourself hand in hand together from gratitude into happiness and being at ease and grace and at peace. And I'm alluding to the fact that happiness is a superpower. It helps you be a better problem solver. It helps you communicate better. It helps you be more improvisational. It helps you to be more inspired. It helps you to use one of the greatest things that we have available to us in our life is our imagination. So now you're starting to move into realms where you're able to dream a different experience for yourself. You're able to create. You're able to. There's a very popular idea to manifest, but so they're the sort of the walking through the steps, going from a place of feeling stagnant or stuck or heavy or restricted or limited or bitter or in guilt or in shame, and these sort of lower level sort of frequencies, which are all a part of us, and they're all things to love and to embrace and to accept and to acknowledge and to allow, not to fight against them. When you're resisting feelings, maybe you're not feeling so great and you're resisting them, that creates that friction. That's where the allowing and the accepting will help and soften and help some ease and grace, and for you to forgive whatever has happened, whatever took place. And then you move into gratitude, and then go into gratitude into these places where you can rebound. So one of the things that I feel as though that awakening represents for me is the happiest people I know and the most successful people I know, they are the ones that rebound or bounce back to their center after they've been disturbed, after they've been triggered, after they've been dysregulated. So returning back to that center after having a wobble, after spiraling or playing ping pong match with yourself about these negative ideas or what should have happened or how they should have behaved or what you should have done, taking everything with a pinch of salt. So allowing, accepting, making peace with whatever happened, forgiving it, moving into gratitude, stepping from gratitude into a place of centered happiness, at peace, ease, and grace, and then back to that creator beast mode, going into your life, creating, being playful, enjoying, having a good time, using your feelings, your instincts, your intuition. And then you can start to see a lot of synchronicity and auspiciousness and serendipities unfolding, and you feel like you're back in the flow. So your ability to rebound and shorten the space when you're being down and stuck and limited and stagnant is it really is a gift. And if that was the one thing that you focused on, is rebounding from life back to your center, and whichever practice, therapy, religion, medicine, meditation, cold plunge, whatever it is that helps you return to your center, your process, your practice, whatever works for you is the only thing that really matters. And it doesn't have to be anything specific. It can be something as simple as like, I'm going to go for a walk in the park. I'm going to sit under my favorite tree and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to relax. And that's going to help me rebound back to my true self, my true nature. And then from that place, and I'll continue.
Yeah. Yeah, so beautiful. And that's definitely like some of the practices for me that I find return me back to center is like the gym, is nature, meditation. Those are like the main three things that really bring me back. Also, like the way that I eat, getting enough sleep, just like the basic human needs, right? That really just grounds me and brings me back to like my true nature, like you said, for sure.
Beautiful. They're perfect for anyone listening to this. Don't need to look over your shoulder what anyone else is doing. You discover your own practices that work for you, the things that really you connect with, and they may shift and change in your life. They don't have to be cool, and they definitely don't have to be complicated. But if they work for you, that's the only thing that matters. And if they help you return home or come home to yourself, and you feel at peace and ease and grace, and from that place, it's like watching the sunrise. Maybe yesterday when you watched the sunrise, it was a bit shady and you just picked up your camp, and now you're in a different place on the mountain and you're watching the same sunrise as yesterday, but you're from a different place, a different perspective. So that shift in perspective can happen from you venturing back to the touchstone or the very familiar practices that you have, that you know that work for you, that bring you home to yourself and help you find your center again. And from that place, anything's possible.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And Paul, I just have a few last questions, like especially with this space of like coming to acceptance of feeling, right? I've heard many stories of people that are high performers, go, go, go. Either they're in business, they're in professional sport, where they're constantly getting things done, they're always busy and don't feel like they don't have the time to go back and do the work on themselves, that maybe that their pain from their past has always been a motivator, that they train because they want to prove a point, or they want to win to please somebody else, or they want to keep working because they fear what happened in their past. So I guess I'd love to hear your perspective of moving forward from pain, or moving forward to pleasure. Does that make sense?
Yes, suffering can be very powerful. A lot of people, first of all, it's familiar for someone that's been doing it for a long time. And being an underdog is always gives someone sort of a little bit of extra courage, gives them a little bit of extra power. Um, it's a very strong force in someone's life to prove someone wrong, or to prove themselves to the world. So this is a wellspring of power that people draw from and have conquered mountains with it. But there's a ceiling. It will only take you so far until it folds in on itself and then it blows up. Because going back to one of the ideas I shared with you earlier about going away from what we don't want versus going towards what we do want, to make it very simple. When you're on the run from, let's say you're a professional athlete and you had a poor relationship with your father and you're performing. I see this a lot with boxers that are they're always fighting the dad in the ring. But let's say they're fighting their father, and eventually their father that fight is going to eat them up from inside, and it's never going to be truly satisfying because they're not following their path. They're doing it to prove another force in their life wrong, or to win the love of that force. So winning your relationship with yourself is the same one you have with everyone and everything. So when you can discover that relationship with yourself and cultivate it and nurture it and give it time, so through understanding and allowing, giving it a voice, then you can start to discover a greater source of power that is limitless. And it's something that's self-perpetuating. It's expressing love for yourself and expressing love for all of your life, the people in your life, how you interact with your life. That's a force that is eternal. It will always be sustaining you. And being in right relationship with your life, or right relationship with your internal universe, versus being in a relationship with lack or less than, or low self-esteem, or not loving yourself, or anger and frustration, and there's a level of suffering going on in the background, you're constantly going to be on the run. And that's not a sustainable sort of practice. And eventually, in some way, shape, or form, that you're going to have to face that. And it may not be on your terms. It may be on these terms of this unseen, unknown, unheard force that has lied in waiting to be forgiven. So you could describe it as an unforgiven force within you. And that unforgiven force will eventually to use the metaphor, it's like a 400-pound gorilla that is in the basement and you've kept it locked in there. And eventually it's going to kick that door down. It's going to come out in the most inconvenient time, and it's going to sabotage everything. It's going to just trash the house. And there's another way to do it. There's another way that you could experience it is, why don't you walk down to the basement, unlock that door, maybe dress up the gorilla so it's not scary, put a tutu on and put some lipstick on and call her Wendy and invite her to come and sit on your knee and tell you all about it. So it's like walking around with, you're beautifully turned out, you've got high heels on, or you've got the latest sneakers and expensive jeans and a great haircut, but you just ignore your left foot, and your left foot is just it's got no shoe on, the nails are unkept, it's dirty. It's like a part of yourself that you're ignoring. It's a part of yourself that you're rejecting. It's a part of yourself that you don't want to know about because it's highly inconvenient. It's controversial. It goes against a lot of the current regime of belief systems. And it's hurtful. It's painful. It's the source of suffering. It's the source of unhappiness. So embracing that part of yourself and accepting that part of yourself will help you move forward into being in what I describe as being in coherence with yourself, everything in alignment. So when I'm moving through whatever experience, everything's coming with me and all of it's forgiven, all of it's accepted, all of it's loved, all of it's allowed, all of it's embraced, all of it has a say in the matter. Even the stuff that I would like to hide from the world so I can continue to look perfect, to look good. All those aspects are actually the source of your power, and I call it beautifully broken open. So those aspects of yourself, when revealing to the world, they're the most attractive parts of ourselves. So when we're hiding away from aspects of ourselves, it's sort of turning our back on some untapped resources, some untapped energy that can help us in our life. And one of the best ways to connect with someone else is to be vulnerable and to expose yourself in a fashion that is very human, and it allows humility to take place. And that's a beautiful source of connection. And it's that part of ourself that maybe we've been trying desperately to hide or to turn away from because it's too painful to engage with. So when we have a relationship with that, we can start to discover we can have a deeper and a different relationship with the world in our life. So our thoughts, words, and deeds are the only things that we can control. If we're making them loving and accepting and positive, and there's surrender and acceptance and allowing, and there's ease and grace and love, all these things, um, then that's good. These are good characteristics to engage with yourself to start with. Like I said, your relationship with yourself is the same one you have with everyone and everything.
Mm.
So there you have it.
So when is the right time to take the lid off? When's the right time to open that door to the gorilla? Because I know many people that would be listening to this being like, well, I feel like I don't have the time. It feels inconvenient now, but the gorilla's knocking, right? It's like it's ready to come crashing through.
I think this, like you described, as timing, serendipitous, right time, right place, when you're ready or not ready.
Mm.
It's going to happen in natural order in your path. Arm wrestling something is not a good idea, allowing it. But if you don't make time for something, it'll most likely take place not on your time frame and not on your schedule. So if you don't want to be proactive, that's okay. It'll um
It'll
you'll
happen
still have to
anyway.
engage. Yeah, and you'll still have to engage with it eventually. We can't outrun these things. And there's a number of ways that we can distract ourselves from it through you know material things, possessions, through distracting ourselves through entertainment experiences or drugs, or making a plant medicine an idol, and we're going to go down that cul-de-sac and it's a dead end, but we're going to follow it, or making a guru or like a teacher an idol, or following a certain path that is we're going to project, or we're going to transfix on that rather than looking inwards and to discover these parts of ourselves and to be curious and to be inquisitive and ask more questions, tell me more. So when someone builds their relationship with themselves through their own practices that works with them, for them, then that will start to open things up. And there's some, I'm not saying that there's not people out there or plant medicine or religion or practices or therapies that are not beneficial, not at all. But if people are using them as tools, and this is the number one ingredient in this whole idea that what you and I are talking about is taking responsibility.
Yeah.
So when we take responsibility for saving ourselves, loving ourselves, appreciate ourselves, accepting ourselves, and from that place we can be that for ourselves, and then we may be able to build resources to then be that for the world around us, or people will be inspired just by seeing us being that for ourselves. And if we've got a little bit of extra left over, some people may experience that, and that might be enough to inspire them to do that for themselves.
So tell me about the work that you're now doing in LA. So for those that are listening, they're like, all right, I'm ready. I want to do something. Like, what currently are you doing at the moment over in the States?
So I have workshops that I do in different spas and retreat centers, these type of places that I'll do an evening. I have a retreat center myself. I have 40 acres that is off the grid near Joshua Tree in the high desert that I take people for private retreats, one-on-one, or sometimes I take 2 or 3 people maximum. And I'm doing one-on-one with clients all over the world on the phone with the different various platforms, whether it's Zoom or FaceTime. And then I see people in person here in LA, and sometimes people fly me to different parts of the world to engage with them. Every now and then I work with companies and organizations that want to bring a sort of a deeper anchor of spiritual, mental, emotional sort of coherence, bring more power into their organization and more emotional intelligence, these kind of ideas. So that's how I'm working at the moment.
Beautiful. I'm just like I said at the start of this, like I remember when you were telling me the things that you're doing now and what you have done as well in London. I'm so inspired by you, and it just shows me like what you've achieved. It's like I know meeting you that day, like you're just my mirror, and all of that is coming for me in my own kind of way. And yeah, it's exciting for me to hear what you're doing because I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I just think you're so cool.
Elise, anything is available to you, and anyone listening to this. Your infinite possibilities, prosperity and love, and complete limitless amount of prosperity and love. And I ask that you all be blessed with the riches and bounty of heavens and earth. And this life is a beautiful gift, and we celebrate this gift. And I feel very, very ambitious for anyone that is engaging in this work. If you follow the path of your heart, if you trust yourself, if you have faith in yourself, if you allow your life and relax and take people with a pinch of salt, forgive often and plenty, uh, continue to be grateful, you will find a path forward that is in alignment with your true nature, with the path of your heart, with your authentic self. And you can really realize your own unique, special gifts. No one was made exactly like you. No one had the same experiences. No one is like you. So you can express your authentic, unique expression of yourself using creativity and imagination in the world, and touch it in a positive way, and see if we can all continue to do that, and cumulatively or collectively for us to do some good things in the world and share that with the world. And that's good. It's a good thing.
So beautiful. And what I would love to do, Paul, if it's okay with you, is if we could finish on a prayer guided by you, tuned
Sure.
into like what you believe the collective, everyone listening to this episode right now needs to hear at any point in time, that they could be listening in the future, years from now. I'd love for you to share just a prayer for everyone and for everyone to listen. If you can, like, close your eyes, get comfortable, be still, because yeah, Paul, I think you do this so magically.
Okay. The divine ray, infinite creator consciousness, the immovable mover, the one that has many names but is the unnameable one. I ask for you to be with us here in this moment. I ask that you bless all those that are with us, and for all the unforgiven that lies in waiting, we make a peace treaty with you. All that is known and unknown, seen and unseen, named and unnamed within us, we make a peace treaty with you, and we forgive you all for everything immediately now. And I call upon the forces of nature. I call upon the wind to whisper to us sweet wisdom. We open our heart and fill you with our love, and we give thanks. I call upon the earth to provide us with fertile soil. May we plant our feet in that soil and grow deep roots so we may thrive and prosper. We open our hearts and fill the earth with our love. And to the water, to the oceans, all the aquamarine bodies, we open our hearts and we fill you with our love. And we ask that you carry us sweetly and softly on your current into the open waters. May we sail like paper boats off into the sunset. And to the fire elemental beings, we open our hearts and fill you with our love. May you burn away all that does not belong to us. And may we rise from the ashes like the phoenix, and to remember our true nature, our true state, the native self, and thrive and flourish. I ask that you anoint, open, bless, empower, expand, lead, guide, direct, and protect all those here and now. As we open our hearts and fill all of creation with our love, we celebrate this life and all life as it is a gift, now and forever. Please and thank you, please and thank you, please and thank
you. Wow, thank you so much, Paul. It's
You're
been
welcome.
an absolute pleasure to have you on show today. Very grateful.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Keep doing what you're doing, Elise. It's magic. It's magic.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.